Hey guys, Marvin here, driven by Graphtec, and basically just want to record a quick video on how I'm doing die cut decals. A lot of people use a perf cut option, perfectly fine. In this case, I'm using my Graphtec CE6000, which it actually does not have a separate section to actually do die cut cutting, if you will. Ultimately, it's just standard vinyl cutter, and I'm just increasing the cut force. I'm using a eBay or Amazon blade in it, cheap, inexpensive blade. And yeah, I'll just jump in and show you how I get this set up. So within Corel, here I've just set up a 1¼ inch circle, ultimately to kind of dial in my cut settings. I found that the typical test cut in the machine itself does not provide a large enough size to give you a good representation of how well your cut force is actually going to apply to a die cut type cut. So what I've done here is just made a 1¼ inch circle in Corel, and I'm going to just send that to the vinyl over here. Launch my cut plot option. So this brings up the I believe it's Cutting Master plugin for the Graphtec cutter. Again, just 1¼ inch, and I'll send that over. I'll show real quick. I played around a little bit with this earlier, and I am running 2 paths on this, and currently the force is at 32. I believe on the Graphtec here, I think it goes up to either 36 or 38. I don't remember off the top of my head. But what I found is by obviously doubling the cut paths here, I've been able to pull down my cut force a bit. So I'm not having to get close to the edge of maxing that out. And as your kind of blade itself wears down in sharpness over time, I'm basically able to kind of extend the life of that a bit by running a double pass. So I did just do that. Let me switch cameras real quick. So it ran the double cut. Ultimately, what I'm looking for when I do this cut, let me pull the view out, is that I want that piece to still be kind of structurally, I guess, sound, for lack of a better term, in here, so it's not just falling out. And ultimately what that does, as you're nesting or die cutting your graphics out, by that piece not popping out on its own, it kind of creates the integrity of the vinyl itself as it's cutting, as opposed to like having it bunch up and whatnot. But how easy it is to just pop out the cut. And that's really what I'm trying to dial in terms of my settings, cut settings and whatnot, so that it stays intact when it cuts everything, but pops out really easily. So I'll go through, let me get this aligned, and I'll run this job. It's not too many of them here, so it should run pretty quick. Got back home. Now I printed this on my Roland, and I'm cutting here so I can allow the Roland to still be printing other jobs, but I've cut these just the same on my Roland. And you just ultimately just having to dial in the cut settings. So I've got my perf cut, or yeah, the registration mark rather, there. So let me pop back over to desktop, close this job out, and ultimately this is what we're going to cut. So with that job, I'll send it over. Bring this in. Basically have all the standard settings here. Same thing. It brings in the same settings from the previous job, so the 2 pass type stuff, and nothing crazy on any of the other things. I am going to use the registration marks, so now it's going to prompt me to make sure that I have the head itself of the cutter over that registration mark. Click OK. Switch camera. So take a minute to read the registration marks in. This is just a local small business to us that does little peanuts, our nut hut. They just run through. Like I said, it's going to do a double cut on all these. They're sized about 3 inches, and we'll get them cut and show you how easy it is to pop all of them out. And these are just rectangular, you saw, and then you on the file. Even when I send this to my Graphtec, I do set the file up as using the standard cut contour. And when I print them on the Roland, I just set the job itself to be print only, as opposed to print and cut. it's definitely possible. The other thing kind of show here to mention is that obviously it's definitely possible to print on the Roland and then cut on another machine. Ultimately, you just have to find what registration marks that your machine requires for making these jobs. With the Graphtec, there's basically a free plugin that works with CorelDRAW. I believe it also works with Illustrator. I think just HP, if I'm not mistaken. But it puts the registration marks on the file, and I export that PDF out to be printed with reverse order dismissals. And yeah, I've used different blades. I've got, I don't know if I have them any longer, but I've had blades from Graphtec. I've used the clean cut blades as well, and then, like I said, I've also used these from Amazon as well. This is like a 5 or 10 pack or something from Amazon. Honestly, between cutting like the die cuts like this, I haven't been able to notice any sort of difference between any of the blades, and how long they last or how well they cut or anything like that. They all seem to be about the same to me, and I've just obviously saved the money and used the Amazon ones. Getting close to finishing up here. And certainly it does take a little bit to get the cut force valve in though. Both the blade depth you kind of got to play with a bit, as well as the actual force itself. If the blade's sticking out too much, it's going to cut differently. Even if you minimize the force with a longer blade depth, and then obviously if you have too short of a blade depth or too much pressure, it's just going to cut differently when you're doing these die cuts. So you really got to dial that in well and get a good cut set up, and then once you do that, kind of off to the races. Obviously, from time to time, I've got to increase the force just a little bit as the blade wears or cutting strip and stuff like that. But so just to kind of show how easy these are, like I said, they're all still intact. Nothing's falling out easily, anything like that. So the integrity, if you will, of the vinyl as it cut this job, stayed intact. So nothing started skewing all over the place or anything like that. And then it's literally just to kind of lift these up and pop out. So it's not difficult to do, and just take a second to pop these guys out. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, it's right on the edge. That one may take a little bit more work. I'm trying to, usually basically I take these over to my work table and pop them out here. There we go. It's easier to get behind certain ones right now as it's sitting here, but yeah, just take a second to pop them out and get your die cuts, if you will. So yeah, hopefully that helps. If you guys got any questions, feel free to let me know. You guys take care.